Hi class. This week we were given the assignment to use more various kinds of research databases. I used the historical abstracts with the full text in the sense that my thesis would be on World War One, and yes, I'm sure that the American database with the United States and Canada will come in handy at some point, but I wanted to see what the historical abstracts one would render, since it's focusing on an aspect of world history. And the first article that I chose, that all of these are going to be related to the Battle of Verdun, which happened in 1916, and it was the longest continuing battle of the war. The goal behind it was the Germans were attacking the French in the south at this fortress called Verdun, and their main goal that they wanted to do was what they said to bleed the French white, was to basically cause so many French soldiers to go down there and get depleted that France would withdraw from the war. Initially the Germans were successful, but the French fought back very hard, and this was one of the pivotal moments of the war for them. And they were so depleted by the middle of 1916 that they urged the British to help them out in some way, and that's when the Battle of the Somme happened in July 1916. The British were trying to help out the French from the Germans, and it helped some, which is why that Verdun was more of a stalemate. The first article in relation to this battle is called Verdun, the Endless Battle, and this was more of a shorter article, but it listed out the intentions of the Germans, what they were wanting, but also the outcomes of what really happened in the end. They were partially successful, but not as much as they had hoped. And this article was written by Paul Jankowski, and it was in the Historian Journal. The next article was entitled The Mud of Verdun. That was written by Robert Chamberlain, and it was in the Military Review Journal. And this stated more of the strategy of the French and the German, trying to look at both sides of it, and the extreme losses that happened. There were thousands and thousands of casualties on both sides. And this article included images to help visualize some of the massive landscape, how it was so torn apart by all the shelling, by the constant back and forth over a few square miles of this fortress of Verdun. The third article that I chose had a little bit of a different, more specific aspect of the battle. It's called Remembering the Trier Senegals and the Great War. So oral history is a methodology of inclusion in French colonial studies. As we talked about before, the Battle of the Somme, the British, they had help from their various colonies of the Canadians, Australians, Indians. The French, their colonies were more few, but they had many colonies in Africa, and these Senegals they pulled, these were Africans. It would have been a completely different world going from their home, whether that was in desert or jungle or Sahara, to the Western Front, which would have been an environment unlike they had even thought or could imagine. But these French African soldiers were a great help, and they also fought at Verdun and in other places throughout the Western Front and the battles. This article was written by Joe Lund, and it was in a journal called The French Colonial History, and written in 2009. And so this was the aspect that I want to use this database to help research on, and I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions on this.